You're listening to ADHD and Money, the podcast for bold, brilliant minds ready to ditch toxic money talk. I'm Louisa Wilcox, and here we talk conscious wealth, real business talk, Zen parenting, life, and money. Because being rich isn't the goal, being free is. Today's episode is one of the most important I've ever recorded because we're talking about something that is rampant but rarely called out. Something that destroys lives, but often isn't recognised until it's too late. And we're talking about financial manipulation. And I don't mean surface level stuff. I'm not talking about harmless arguments over takeaways or different approaches to saving. I'm talking about deep, sustained control, dependency, power, fear, silence, and what it really means when someone else holds your finances in their hands, instead of you holding them in yours. Now, this episode might hit a nerve, it might feel personal, and that's because it is. Because chances are, if you haven't experienced it yourself, someone close to you absolutely has. Now, financial manipulation is abuse, but it's invisible abuse. There are no bruises, no shouting, just a slow, corrosive erosion of your confidence, your clarity, your ability to choose freely, and your financial options. And the hardest part, it can happen to anyone. Women, men, non-binary people, in long-term marriages, casual situationships, friendships, even business partnerships. It doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home parent or a six-figure earner. Financial manipulation does not discriminate. And it rarely looks like someone screaming, "Give me your money!" Instead, it sounds like, "You don't need access to the banking app. I've got it covered. I forgot to pay you back again. Sorry. You earn more, so you should pay for the holiday. I don't want you to work. I'll look after us. You don't need savings if we're together, right? You're so dramatic. It's just money." At first, it can feel like love. You might feel grateful. They're taking care of the bills. They're handling things. It looks like security. It feels like support. Until it doesn't. Until one day you realise you can't leave because the car's not in your name, your income goes straight into a joint account you can't access. You don't know the login, you don't know how much debt is in your name, you don't even know what your household bills are. And that's when it hits you. This isn't love, this isn't a partnership, this is control. Now, this kind of control robs you of more than money. It actually robs you of your sense of self, your confidence to make decisions, your ability to leave when you're unhappy or unsafe. It strips you of long-term security and limits your future options. And if you run a business, that damage becomes even more dangerous because when your personal finances aren't stable, it affects everything. You undercharge because you're scared to lose income. You keep toxic clients because you need the cash. You say yes to everything even when your body's screaming no. You run a whole business, but you don't pay yourself properly. You avoid looking at your numbers because of shame, fear, or confusion. Financial manipulation doesn't stay in one box. It spreads. And it leaves people stuck, quiet, isolated, and exhausted. Now let's take a breath and look at just how widespread this actually is. In the UK, 1 in 6 women have experienced financial abuse from a partner. 83% of survivors say their employment was impacted by financial control. 99% of domestic violence cases involve financial abuse, and over 8.7 million adults in the UK alone experienced economic abuse in some form. But the hardest truth? Most victims didn't even realise it was abuse while it was happening. But this kind of control hides in silence, in secrecy, in normalised behaviour. It disguises itself as love, as stability, as this is just how we do things, and it thrives in the gap where financial education should have been. Now, why does this actually matter to me? I didn't grow up wealthy. I didn't have a trust fund. When I became a mum, I didn't have a financially supportive partner. In fact, I became a single mum. I didn't have family money. I didn't even have a safety net. What I did have was fear, panic, an overwhelming sense of how the hell am I going to get through this? I had to raise a baby. But I also had financial education, and it changed everything for me. Because I knew how to open my own bank account. I got my name on all the bills, I tracked every penny coming in and out. I set up a bare bones budget and stuck to it. I prioritised what was essential, milk, nappies, rent, and dropped what wasn't. I made conscious decisions, not desperate ones. Did it make things easy? No, trust me, it really didn't. It was hard, but it made them possible, and it made all the difference. And that's why I do what I do, because I want you to have the possibility too, that power, that choice. So here's what I want every listener to have at the absolute minimum: your own income, a bank account in your own name, access to every financial document and password connected to your life, an emergency fund, even if it's just £100 to start, a pension in your name, even if it's just £20 a month, your name on utility bills so you build credit, investments for your future, even small ones, and the confidence to ask questions, to say, this doesn't feel right. Because when you have those, you're no longer trapped, you're equipped. And that's why financial education isn't a luxury, it's liberation. Now, if you're listening and thinking, oh God, this sounds like me, let me say this clearly. You are not overreacting. You're not imagining it. You're not being dramatic, difficult, or ungrateful. You're just seeing the truth, maybe for the first time. And that is brave as hell. So here's how you can actually start. Get clarity. Write down what you earn, what you owe, and what you spend. Open a solo account, even if it starts with £10. Find someone you trust, because you don't have to do this alone. Start learning, one podcast, one book, one tool at a time. And begin taking back control, quietly, slowly, safely, but surely. And if you're someone who's come out of the other side, please share your story, because someone else is where you used to be, and they need to know there's hope. Let's also talk about business manipulation too, because here's the thing. Financial manipulation doesn't just happen in personal relationships. It also happens in business, in sales, in coaching, in DMs, in discovery calls you didn't agree to. I recently had someone comment on one of my posts saying, I had a call with someone once. It was meant to be a networking chat, but very quickly it shifted into a discovery call I hadn't agreed to. I said the offer was interesting, but financially not for me right now. Their reply, well, obviously you're not ready, because if you were, you'd commit and find a way. That's not okay. Listen to that bit again. That isn't support. That isn't strategy. That's manipulation, and it's everywhere. It looks like guilt-tripping someone into buying, telling people they don't value themselves if they say no, creating false scarcity and fake urgency, convincing people to put it on a credit card when they've said they're in debt, shaming people for asking questions, encouraging people to find a way when it means sacrificing their safety. This is not ethical selling. This is financial pressure, and it is harmful. People walk away from those calls feeling stupid, guilty, or broken. They're not just financially stretched, they're emotionally wrecked. This is not how business should be done. Ethical business looks like transparency, respect, consent. You should know what you're being offered. You should know about the price before the pitch, or at least join the actual pitch in the beginning. You should be allowed time and space to make a decision, and you should feel empowered to say yes or no without shame. Now, my promise to you is I would never push you to pay. I will never pressure you into saying yes. I will never make you decision about your worth. Because I'm here to help you make decisions from clarity, not chaos, from calm, not coercion. Real wealth is built with respect, and your boundaries matter more than a sales target. So let's build conscious wealth, because this is what conscious wealth is really about. Not just about making more money, but making better decisions, safe decisions, values-aligned decisions, whether it's in your home, your business, or your bank account. The more educated you are, the harder it becomes for anyone to manipulate you. And if you're ready for that kind of wealth, I'd love to help. Listen to my podcast, watch my YouTube channels, or follow me on social medias, and I share so much information. And if you're an organisation that wants to go beyond surface level well-being, drop me a message. Because once you understand your money, really understand it, no one can take your power again.